Hi guys, so my husband wrote another speech. I just thought I'd go ahead and read it to you. So if you don't want to watch that kind of video, shut it off now. It's just it's about taxes and whatnot. And he titled it Corporate Tax Breaks and the Fall of Man. And I'm just going to go ahead and read. I find it hilarious whenever I hear someone propose the preposterous idea that cutting taxes for large corporations create jobs. In 2009, Bank of America didn't pay a single penny in taxes, although the top executives did receive pay ranging from $6 to $30 million. Boeing didn't pay any taxes between 2008 and 2010, although they managed to lay off over 13,000 employees since then. Since the recession officially began in December 2007. Thank God for those job-creating tax cuts, eh? Despite being the fourth largest bank in the country, Wells Fargo was able to escape paying federal taxes by writing all of its losses off after its acquisition of Wachovia. Yet in 2009, the chief executive of Wells Fargo also saw his compensation more than double, as he earned a salary of $5.6 million paid in cash and stock awards of more than $13 million. I personally think we have heard enough of this Milton Friedman trickle-down economics crap to last a lifetime. If trickle-down economics really worked, then surely we'd be swimming in a river of money by this point. In 1983, the top 1% had 33.8% of all the wealth in the U.S., and the bottom 80% had 18.7% of the wealth. In 2007, the top 1% wealth had risen to 42.7%, while the bottom 80% had declined to owning only 7% of the wealth. I dare say we are losing this class war. The great American middle class is quickly disappearing. While so many people beat their chests about the evils of socialism, few seem to care that corporations socialize their losses while privatizing their profits. No one seems to bat an eye when corporations externalize their costs. 90% of clothing purchased in the U.S. is produced under sweatshop conditions. We allow corporations to outsource jobs to China so their factories can operate without having to worry about the costs associated with environmental protections. Not to mention they don't have to pay a living wage. Plus they get the added bonus of being able to employ child labor. As if these injustices were not bad enough, they also get the added benefit of tax havens in the Cayman Islands, amidst others. In fact, there are actually over 50 tax haven countries. The truly ludicrous nature of this beast is that none of these practices are illegal. Not that corporations don't break laws. They in fact break more laws in 1 year than you or I could dream of breaking in 10 lifetimes. ExxonMobil paid more than $11.8 billion in fines in 2003 alone. It is more cost-effective for corporations to simply pay these fines than to actually follow the law. Now, all of this information can be deemed essentially pointless by antagonists to the argument because they claim all of these practices somehow help Americans because these corporations will create more jobs and, in turn, more wealth for our country. While I think we can already effectively discredit the more jobs argument, but there are more troubling aspects to the situation. There are two dangerous practices that have been happening for some time in our country's economic system: budget deficits and trade deficits. Let's start with trade deficits. What trade deficits are, simply put, is an amount of money we have coming in our country and the amount of money going out. It's that simple. The U.S. has a trade deficit, money going out, of approximately $800 billion annually, and that number is ever rising. Why so big? Because we simply don't produce anything in America anymore. That's where corporate greed plays a big role. If they open their factories overseas, then we're not really shipping goods out now, are we? We are shipping those same goods in, though. China's trade surplus, or money coming in, on the other hand, is roughly $457 billion annually. Now, we could focus on our obvious trade crisis for a long time, but I think we all get the point. So let's move on to our budget deficit crisis. Our budget deficit is obviously how much more we're spending than we are bringing in. Clinton was the only president in modern time that actually balanced the budget to the point where we were running surplus for 3 straight years. That didn't last for long. This is not solely a Republican problem, though. Obama has increased our budget deficit to $1.56 trillion in 2010. What does this have to do with corporations? Well, our government brings money in with taxes and trade. Maybe if they paid the same tax rates as the rest of us, then we would have a surplus. Maybe if we were actually running trade surplus, we would have a budget surplus. Instead, our government passes tax cuts for corporation. Instead, our government starts wars that benefit oil corporations and defense contractors while adding to our budget deficit. Political corruption is at an all-time high, and it's our country that will have to pay. It's not the billionaire CEOs. It's not the puppet politicians. It's you. It's me. It's the American working class that is quickly disappearing. It's the impoverished people of the country whose poverty will only grow when the time comes that our country has no more to pay for any social programs or welfare that may actually benefit the people of this country and not corporations. If corporations were people, they might actually care about this, but they are not, so they don't. Let's start holding them accountable. They started this class war. We're left with no choice but to fight back. So, just like the last speech that he put out, go ahead and feel free to share this with whoever you want. I urge you to share it if you agree with anything in there, because there's a lot of information in there that people might not know or might not be aware of. So, and I'd like to stress in the back part how he says it's not just a Republican problem. It isn't. It's Democrats and Republicans are both to blame for the problems that we're having today. It's not just one party or the other. So, anyway, guys, till next time. Bye.